Hi there, this is Ranjit from tech2buzz.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about Android phones, specifically the GSM phones available in India. The earlier guide that I had done was in March, and I've got several requests regarding that, so let's get on to it. Some of the common features that are applicable to all the phones that I have mentioned here is that all the phones support 3G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and all the phones have the capacitive touch type screens. So these things are common across all the phones that I'm mentioning. First Android phone that I have, and that's if your budget is around 7,500 rupees, is the new Micromax A70 Android phone that's recently launched. This phone, I haven't personally used this phone, but according to the specs, this phone has everything that you can look for a budget Android phone. For example, it has a HVGA screen that's 3.2 inches. It runs on Froyo, and it can accept SD cards up to 16 GB. It even has a front-facing VGA camera, but I don't know if it is applicable for video calls or not. And the rear camera, that's 5 megapixels. It runs on 600 MHz processor. The only con that I see with this phone is the low amount of memory. That's just about 155 MB of RAM. Next, for if your budget was around 8,500, I was about to recommend the Samsung Galaxy Pop, but I'm not recommending this due to the reason that it sports a QVGA screen. That's a resolution of 320 by 480, and according to me, an Android phone should have at least a resolution of HVGA, that's 320 by 480, because some of the applications that you buy from the Android marketplace will not work if your resolution is below HVGA. Next, if your budget is around 10,000 rupees, I still recommend the LG Optimus One. I have recommended this phone earlier also, and I still recommend it if your budget is about 10,000 rupees. It has all the Android goodies that you can expect. It sports a 3.2-inch capacitive screen with a HVGA resolution. It runs Froyo 2.2. And the only con that I see is the rear facing camera is just 3.1 megapixel, and it sports a 600 megahertz processor. If you can up your budget to about 13,000 rupees, then I recommend the HTC Wildfire S. Remember, it's Wildfire S and not just Wildfire. This runs on Android 2.3, that's Gingerbread. And again, it runs on a 600 megahertz processor, and the screen size is 3.2 inches. But as it's a HTC phone, you get the HTC Sense UI, and it's a pretty good built phone. You also get a tough Gorilla Glass with this, and it's a pretty lightweight phone at just 105 grams. The camera it sports is a rear-facing camera that's a 5 megapixel with flash. Next, if your budget is around 15,000 rupees, I recommend the Motorola Defy. Earlier, this phone was priced about 18 to 19,000 rupees, but now it is around 15,000 rupees, and I fully recommend this phone. This is a really tough phone. It's dust proof and it's waterproof, and this sports a 3.7-inch screen with a resolution of 480 by 854 pixels. Regarding the camera, it has a rear facing camera of 5 megapixels with flash, but the video recording it can do is just VGA at 30 frames per second. If your budget is around 15,000 rupees, have a look at this phone. It's a great phone. Next, if you have a budget of about 20,000 rupees, I recommend the Nexus S phone. This is the Google phone that was launched a couple of months ago, and earlier it was priced at about 25 to 26,000 rupees. Now it has come down to 20,000 rupees. This is the Google phone, and it runs the latest version of Android, that's 2.3. It sports a 4-inch Super LCD screen with a resolution of 480 by 800. It sports 16 GB of internal storage. Sadly, there is no expansion of storage. There's no SD card slot or anything like that. So you are limited to 16 GB of storage that comes with the phone. Regarding the processor, it runs a speedy 1 GHz ARM Cortex processor, and because it's a Google Android phone and it doesn't have any UI customization, it's a really fast phone. Next, if your budget is about 21,000 rupees, I have made this phone as an exception. I was not recommending it earlier, but now I've seen the price of this phone come down to about 21,000, and this phone is the original Samsung Galaxy S, also known as i9000. It was earlier priced about 25,000. The good thing about this is this phone has a 4-inch Super AMOLED screen with a resolution of 480 by 800. It runs on a speedy 1 GHz ARM processor. It has 16 GB of internal RAM. You can even expand the storage via SD card up to 32 GB is supported, and it runs Android Froyo 2.2. The rear facing camera is a 5 megapixel autofocus, and it can even record HD videos at 720p. We also get a front facing VGA camera with this. So if your budget is around 21,000 to 22,000, have a serious look at the Samsung Galaxy S. Next, if your budget is about 25,000 rupees, I would recommend the HTC Incredible S. We get a 4-inch Super LCD with it, with a resolution of 480 by 800, a tough Gorilla Glass, 1 GB of internal memory. We get a 8 GB SD card with the phone, and it also runs on a 1 GHz processor. The rear facing camera is an 8 megapixel camera with flash. It also supports HD recording at 720p, and we also get a front facing 1.3 megapixel camera. So this is the best bet for about 25,000 rupees. Next, if you can up your budget to about 30,000 rupees, we can get the ultimate Android phone that's available in the market, and no surprises here. It's the Samsung Galaxy S2. I have used this phone for a couple of hours and I was thoroughly impressed with it. The first striking feature of this phone is the 4.3-inch Super AMOLED Plus screen that you get with it. It's really vibrant, and the pictures and the text just pop out of this phone. It runs the latest version of Android, that's 2.3, and the processor that we get with this phone is the 1.2 GHz dual-core processor. We get 16 GB of internal memory, and we can expand up to 32 GB using a SD card. So total of 48 GB. Coming to the cameras, it sports an 8 megapixel camera with dual flash, and it can even record full HD, that's 1080p with this camera. I have seen the pictures with this camera, and this camera does a very decent job. We also get a front facing 2 megapixel camera for video chats. And the best part about this phone is that even after having all these features, it's a very light phone. You have to hold it to believe it. So this is one Samsung phone that I recommend if you are looking for a high-end Android phone. But if you prefer a HTC phone and like HTC Sense UI, you should look at the HTC's first dual-core phone that's known as HTC Sensation. And HTC Sensation comes with 1 GHz dual-core processor and HTC Sense version 3. So these are some of my recommendations for the Android phones. Do let me know what you feel about the same. That's it for now. This is Ranjit for tech2buzz.com, and hopefully I'm going to see you in my next